Greetings, fellow songwriters and seekers. Welcome back to Muse Measure. If you haven't done so yet, hit the guy on the Lotus pedal down below so you can take advantage of all these great questions I'm getting and learning about from all these excellent examples that people are bringing up. And I'm learning so much from this process. All right, I got a question about the Lumenate app. I did a video on this quite a while ago because I checked this out last summer and I was really blown away by it. But I'll get to that in a second. So this is T Eternal. Asked me, I'm a daily meditator. If I was to meditate with this app, what do you think the anchor would be? Also, have you tried the Nova yet? Okay, cool. Well, that's great. You're a daily meditator. Everyone should be a daily meditator as far as I'm concerned, or do it as much as possible, even if it's 5 minutes a day. So that's excellent. It just does so much for you and opens you up, and you can really feel alive when you get into that basic awareness. So he is saying if you could meditate with this app, you certainly could. That's not what I'm using it for. So for those of you who don't know, the Lumenate is basically using the light from your iPhone or your Android, and it's doing a strobe effect with your closed eyes. And for me, and for a lot of people that I know, this creates this incredible visual experience where you see all these colors and shapes. And it's just an amazing transcendental experience, I would say. It's the closest thing that I've ever experienced to a psychedelic tripping experience. And sometimes it feels that intense. And the bliss of it feels that intense. It's like the trip without any of the kind of neurotic, anxiety, bad trip aspects, how I've experienced it. Now, he asked about the Nova yet. A Nova is a mask that you put on, and the strobe is built into the mask, and so you don't have to hold a phone up. So it just makes it a little bit more immediate, a little bit more comfortable. You don't really need it, but I got it, and I think it's awesome. And I love using it. And it's probably, better for the longer sessions too, because you're not holding a phone, like this for a while, and then your arm doesn't get tired. So you're also more free to kind of open up because you're not having to think about holding this phone up and how far it is from your face like that. It's kind of, you can be a little bit more passive in the experience. Now, as far as meditating, you certainly could use it while meditating. I don't see any real purpose for that. Of course, you should meditate anytime you can. So no matter what you're doing, if you're watching a movie or you're driving, anything that can bring you back to mindfulness, you should do. And you could certainly use the Lumenate in this way. So the anchor there could be what are the common anchors in meditation when you have an anchor for meditation. There is anchorless meditation, of course. So it could be your breath. So you're returning to your breath. It could be the music that you're hearing, because the Lumenate is connected with, kind of ambient music. And actually, Sean Lennon and Yoko Ono did a collaboration with them where they used Mind Games by John Lennon. And they do this kind of long, drawn-out versions of those songs where it's just like this meditation on him just holding a note for what seems like an eternity. It's really, really beautiful. And I think there's 9 different experiences to have with that. So yeah, music could be an anchor. And of course, the visual is the anchor. So this happens to me as I'm doing it. Even though this intense, incredible, awe-inspiring thing is happening to your visual field, there's still I find myself daydreaming every once in a while. It's just the nature of our minds to have a thought pop up and then go off into some kind of, get it clouded over and go off into some daydream or fantasy or worry. And so any of those things could be an anchor, and you could certainly decide ahead of time. I think that meditating, in any place, I wouldn't necessarily choose to use that in meditation. I'm not sure it enhances meditation that much. What it does do is bring about the blissful states that come from, being absorbed in your senses like that and being out of your ego and out of the conceptual, because you're not going to be able to conceptualize this bombardment of your senses, which can be pretty intense. You can't conceptualize it very, very quickly, and it's going by so quickly, so it really opens you up, and that's cool. And that's why I really like about the Lumenate, is that it gives you that transcendental experience. Now, I've had this experience a lot in meditation sessions where I just trip like crazy. And it's not like hallucinating things, but yeah, the room shifts, and your sense of inside and outside shifts, and there's all these incredible shifts, and even though the light gets really, really powerful and beautiful. I've had this experience many times when meditating, but that can be a trap in meditation. You can get caught up in just searching for that bliss and being disappointed when it doesn't happen. And that's not what meditation's about. It's not about blissing out and having a tripping experience. It's about getting to a basic awareness and recognizing your thoughts as thoughts, and kind of getting some kind of separation so you don't identify with the thoughts, and liberating yourself in that way, that the cause of your suffering in life is these thoughts. And the more distance you can have from them and realize their dreamlike quality, and how they're just these little bubbles that basically as soon as you recognize them as thoughts, they burst, and they leave a little bit of a cloud and residue, but very quickly they fade away. And also all the emotions that come with thoughts. So I've been meditating on anger this week and just trying to bring up moments that made me angry. There was one instant where my brother was living with me, and I asked him to smoke outside, and I woke up in the middle of the night and he was smoking in the living room, and I was just so pissed, like, how dare you? I brought that up as an instant of being angry. And so what I found is, like, the thought comes up, and then it's almost like it's birthed from the thought, this, and I felt it, like, came from the middle of my chest up into my head, this weird kind of blobby feeling. And that was the anger, that was that blob. And so once I recognized the thought and the emotion, the thought disappeared first, the emotion lingered a little bit more, but they all just kind of dissipated and kind of dissolved into the basic awareness. And so once you can have that experience enough, then you don't suffer so much from these thoughts and these emotions. And you have, your anger that arises, your jealousy, your resentment, your frustration. It just doesn't last as long. It doesn't have to linger, because the thoughts and the emotions kind of, they gas each other up, as the kids would say, or they kind of poke each other and they keep each other riled up. So once you get that distance and you can just see them for what they are, as just little dreams, then you get this distance and you get a little bit of liberation. And the more you practice that, you get more and more liberated in a general sense. And so that's what meditation is for me. So I wouldn't necessarily use the Nova or the Lumenate to meditate, but there's nothing wrong with it if you want to enhance it. I think the only danger would be is that you're kind of chasing the dragon of, I had this blissed out experience, trippy experience, I don't want to experience that again. That's not what meditation's about. It's not about chasing after pleasure. It's about dealing with your mind as it is right now, whether it's in a blissed out state or in a state of indifference or a state of suffering. So any one of those states, or running the whole gamut there, you can use mindfulness and awareness to wake up in the moment. So while you're doing these apps, while you're using the Nova, you should be mindful. While you're doing songwriting, you should be mindful. Anything, reminders you can do. So I hope that helps. If you want to use it, those are some possible anchors. And you can just pick ahead of time. So I'm going to just focus on the visual plane. And whenever I get lost in thought, I'm going to remind myself to go back to enjoying this visual show. Or I'm going to come back to the music whenever I get lost in thought. Or I'm going to come back to the breath or the feeling of lying on my bed. Any of those things can be anchors, I think. All right, well, thank you for that great question, T Eternal. And if I didn't get to all you were aiming towards, or if you have follow-up questions, please put the questions down in the comments. Or if you want to contact me directly, it's tyler@musemeasure.com. Hope that helps, and best of luck with your spiritual practice, your meditation, with these apps, and having them inform your songwriting. I know somebody wrote the other day that they use this to kind of clear their head and get into kind of a cool openness state before they write songs. That'd be a great use for that. Meditation also, or meditation with, all these combinations are also possible. All right, well, take care.